Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 30 of Project Ozone 3. To kick things off today, I want to start by making imaginary time blocks. So if you remember before, we were bottlenecked on not having white gem to make white gem wafers, to make qubit crystals. Well, we got those now because we went through all of Galacticraft. So I have all the materials in here for it with the exception of the qubit clusters. This recipe is one of those nasty nested ones, so let's, I already programmed our AE system to make it, and with any luck, I haven't actually checked if we can make it yet, maybe I should have done this first. Cool, we have enough materials to make 4, and looks like it'll take it a while because we have to cut up some gem wafers. That's alright. Let's kick that off, let it run in the background, do its thing. Alright, the next thing I want to do while that runs is I made a dialing device. That's not it. Dialing device. Remember, we're bottlenecked on this as well because of the qubit crystal. And this lets us take a matter transmitter. So let's put one here. Put some wires down first, I guess. We'll put the receiver here. Or the matter transmitter here. So the matter transmitter can be linked to a matter receiver, and you step in one, you teleport magically to the other. And let's just put the dialing device here then. And that's my last wire. How convenient. Alright, so dialing device. Not the way I wanted to face. Whatever. So you pick it, you pick your receiver here, you pick your transmitter and your receiver. Sure, let's do that. And this green beam of light shows up, and if you step in it, yoink, you get teleported. Now, teleporting yourself one block isn't very impressive. But what we can do now is we can say we have one on Pluto, right? We can dial it to Pluto. And let me double check I have some oxygen, and I can teleport to Pluto. Cool. Now to get back, because I don't have a matter transporter on this side, I have to use my charge porter. Alright, so far that's nothing new. I mean, all of these destinations we already have bound to our charge porter, right? So we just teleport to them. However, there's one down here that's new, ID 16. And if I'm correct, I believe that is the dimension that we built with our dimension builder. This one. Exactly. It's ID 16. I think we can rename it if we want. Oh, I think we have to name it before. Oh no, there we go. ID 16 test. So by putting it here, I think that gives this a name here. Nope, no name, whatever. If we dial to here, if we step in there, we'll be teleported to our new dimension. So before you go to one of your RFTools dimensions, you almost always want it to be powered. There are some exceptions, but generally speaking, if you go into an unpowered dimension without being ready for it, it'll kill you. So it is powered. I don't want to die. So let's step through. Alright, and then when you arrive in a new dimension, you usually arrive in one of these like houses. And what did we spawn in? Dimension of water. That's not very useful. Because this is a completely random dimension, the properties are random. And the properties we got apparently were lots of water. Do I have the ability to breathe underwater? Oh no, I have the Ring of Odin, right? So I don't actually care about water. Anyways, looks like it's water all the way down to bedrock. And there are chance cubes that I'm not going to touch because I like my gear and my life. Alright, so this dimension's pretty useless. That sometimes happens when you generate random dimensions. Very little you can do about it, so let's head back and see if we can generate a different dimension that's a bit more useful to this. I need something that has, dirt, for instance. Alright, let's try again. So we can take our Realize Dimension tab, put it back here, and extract it. And that takes the dimlets that were in it and just takes them out. Since we had no dimlets in it, we get nothing back. So now we can make a new dimension using this dimension tab. I could have just made a new tab as well and kept the previous one intact, but I see no reason I would ever go to a dimension that's made 100% of water and bedrock. So anyways, to make a new dimension now, what I could do is I could just store this. You see how I got a new ID? No, it didn't get a new ID. It's the same ID. It got the same ID because it has the same configuration. Blank is considered a valid configuration, and it is deterministic, which means if you do a blank dimension every time, you'll get that exact. Well, every time on this server, you'll get the exact same one. So, since I want a different dimension, I need a dimlet, and there are. Let's see. There's a digit that I'm looking for. These. So these are just the digit dimlet. It has no effect. It says it has no effect on the dimension, but can be used to create new unique dimensions. Essentially, it's telling it to re-roll the seed. So store. Now you see it doesn't have an ID yet, and we have to regenerate the dimension. So we put it here, give it a couple seconds, at 1,000 RF a tick, and then it has to fill its 40 million buffer. All right, it's filling fast enough. So at a cost of 10 RF a tick, we now have a new dimension. So let's head there and see if we have anything. ID 17. Well, one thing you can do is if you're going to leave a dimension, you can pick up its matter receiver so that it disappears from the list, so it's gone. And that I'll head back to that previous dimension and do that. All right, so you see here another, again, the properties are randomly generated. We get these like mini islands like things floating in a void. But I think this will do because I am looking for dimensional shard ore. Let's see if I can find some. Oh, let's start by marking this so I know. I guess I don't have to mark it. I can just teleport, but whatever. Let's see if we can find any dimensional shard ore. Usually it spawns at lowish Y levels, so maybe these up there. No, that's rock crystal, isn't it? Maybe these islands are too high a Y level to have it. Actually, at a glance, that is what I think. I have an idea. Let's try our digital miner. What is this called? 4-dimensional shard. Did I misspell it? D-I-M. Alright, hold on. So when we hit start, yeah, it says to mine 0. That's because there's none of it in range. Alright, so this dimension is a bust. Now what I could be doing is instead of generating random dimensions, pick specific properties that are like more likely to have what I want, but I don't actually know what properties I want. I just want there to be dirt so I can mine in it. Anyways, let's head back. So as I mentioned, I very quickly stepped back to each of the other dimensions and pulled out their matter receivers. Technically, we can even reuse these. So I suppose it's a way to, generate matter receivers. But by doing so, we no longer have dimensions that we don't want polluting our list here. Now the dimensions are still generated; they still exist in like the game files. If we make this exact dimension tab again, we can repower the dimension and head back. But I couldn't care less. So we can take the digit dimlet, and I think we can turn a 0 into a 1, and re-roll the dice. So let's see how we did. I have to move it to here. Here's our new world. It's rolling hills, and the fluid is blue slime. Cool, I guess. Let's see if we have any dimensional shard ore. $75. Aha, we do. Oh, stop. I want it to silk touch it. Silk touch. Sorry. I think when you use silk touch, it uses more power. Perhaps a lot more power. And I forgot to bring a power cell. But you get the ore silk touched, and then I get to mine it with my fortune pick. So let's see, output. All right, so now it's mining our dimensional shard ore. perfect. We needed, if you remember, a little bit of that to make our tier 3 crafting tables, in turn our tier 4 crafting tables. So yeah, I was hoping we didn't have to make the laser drill, and it turns out we don't have to. Awesome. Cool. So I already put it all away, but we have our dimensional shard ore, and actually let's go turn this into the shards now. So but another reason why RFTools Dimensions is really cool, in addition to the fact that, you know, we can get specific resources there, is that we can specify what these terrain features are. So instead of this being made from, you know, normal terrain generation, we can say the dirt part of it, make it all out of, say, blocks of diamond. You know, this fluid, instead of making it liquid blue slime, I don't know, make it liquid gold. And for certain resources, that can be an approach for us to generate large amounts of it. You know, if there's a difficult to get fluid that we need a lot of. Looking at you, let's see if I can spell it. Screw it. There, it starts with an M. It's like Minoran or something, and it's very. We need 2 singularities. Okay, I can just check the recipe. Myrion. We need 2 Myrion singularities to make the wand of animation, and Myrion has this really obnoxious alloying recipe. So instead of alloying to make it, we can just generate a world that's like that ocean world, but made entirely of Myrion. And then we can just get a pump it, and then, you know, turn it into blocks, and then turn those, you know, turn those blocks into the singularity. That's just an example of how we can use RFTools Dimensions to simplify resource gathering. Anyways, off that stack, we got our stack and a half-ish of ore. Got exactly 8 stacks. Wow, exactly 8 stacks of shards. Perfect. Back at our base, looks like we're still making white gem wafers. Gosh, this machine is slow. And unfortunately, there's no tier 2 circuit fabricator. But I guess if it turns out we need a lot of wafers in the future, we can just set it up to do it, you know, as a processing, like a background task instead of an on-demand task, because these still aren't done. But what that should allow us to do is now to make our tier 3 crafting table. So infused diamonds. I'm just going to gather up the materials for it, and then we can craft. Let's see, we need 1 tier 3 table. And good news is tier 4 tables are not made from tier 3 tables. Like tier 3s are made from tier 2s, made from etc. etc. But tier 4s are not made from tier 3s. So yeah, I'm going to just gather some stuff together. By my calculation, let's see, we can make the, we first have to make the tier 2 crafting tables, and then we can make the tier 3 ones. What am I missing? A block of dragonstone. Right, good thing we have enough to make a block. Tier 3 crafting table. Let's wait for the quest to complete, and then we can look for the tier 4, which is surprisingly enough, I think, even easier than the tier 3. And last but not least, ultimate crafting table. So with this, we can, oh, looks like I have some extra stuff. With this, we can now make all the, you know, the largest extended crafting recipes that this pack has to offer. And I want to start with the philosopher's stone. So there's still a couple things in here. I think that's just auto crafting. That's just auto crafting. Maybe not. Let me do whatever crafting I have left to do, and then we'll see where that leaves us. Before that, though, our qubit clusters are done. So combine that with all of these, and I think we can make our imaginary time blocks. That's 5x5, if I recall. Cool. So the way these work is it's that you give them power. It's a fair bit of power. I think somewhere around 400 RF a tick, and they make plants grow very fast. So let's come over to this demonstration area that I still haven't taken down. So if you recall, plants grow slowly, but with one of these and power, plants grow quickly. Much quickly. Very much quickly? Really, Jimmy? Very quickly. And with 2 of them, they grow very, very quickly. 3 of them, they grow very, very, very quickly. 4 of them, you get the point. They grow basically as fast as I can right-click it. Now, I'm not going to put all 4 in the same spot because that's overkill. So what I'm going to do is set these up over on our farm, and let's see how much that improves our growth rates. All right, so let's start with a reference mark. This is how fast the farm grows without imaginary time blocks. You know, many, but not all of the plants get grown every tick, right? It's about every 2 to 3 ticks-ish, or every 2 to 3 like drum pulses. So let's put the imaginary time blocks down and see how much faster it is. And here it is for comparison with the imaginary time blocks. You can see it's basically every plant is growing to full every harvest. And I tuned the timing such that there are more harvests per second as well. So this is, you know, at least 5-ish times faster, maybe 10 times faster than our previous farm was. And our previous farm wasn't slow to begin with, right? This now is way faster than any like planter harvester combo farm or, you know, like the Ender Isle farm could ever be. And really this I think shows the power of the Drum of the Wilds based farms. So anyways, this will easily provide all the resources we need, that at least all the resources that can be growable for the rest of the game until we obsolete it. So shortly even, we will even be making most of this crazy farm obsolete. That's the late game of this pack is pretty crazy and really fun. I'm looking forward to it. Next up, the Philosopher's Stone takes a number of these Oblivion Catalysts, 4 of them. So, gotta do some Necronomicon rituals. And we gotta kill some Antlion Overlords for their soul crystals. I have swabs for 5 more. And number 4. Well, that was difficult. I think this is everything that it takes to make the, and these, is everything it takes to make the Philosopher's Stone. So, I mean, I guess there's only one way to find out, right? Let's grab it all, head over to the crafting table, and see if it crafts. Oh, it looks like it is. Whew, this is a huge achievement. So, that completes the quest, and that is a big step. So, the Philosopher's Stone can do a lot of things. It can be used to transmute materials, which we'll be doing. Mostly like the coal to alchemical coal, yada yada. It can be used to craft, I guess, just the transmutation table, which is our next significant goal. And it can be used to transform blocks around. Like if you have dirt you want to turn it into grass or whatever, you can. It's a pretty extensive list, but all of this is boring. What's really important is that it is used as a crafting material. And apparently there's 5,000 pages of crafting that it can do. So anyways, with this, our next goal is the transmutation table. The transmutation table really unlocks the bulk of Project E. Once we have this, any item that has a EMC cost, think of an EMC cost as like a price tag at like a store. You know, it costs that many Minecraft dollars. I think it stands for like energy mass conversion. I don't know. Energy mass currency, whatever. Basically, think of it as dollars. And you can sell an item for its EMC values in dollars, and you can buy an item for its EMC value in dollars. But in order to do it, you must first, know that the item exists. You must first trade one in. So once you sell an item, you can buy it back indefinitely, as long as you have enough EMC dollars. So let's see about crafting this recipe. Most of it is very simple stuff we already have. The hard parts are all these, exotic matters. It's like purple matter is made from pink matter, is made from magenta matter, is made from red matter, is made from dark matter, is made from diamond wafers and supremium coal, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, my goal is to make the transmutation tablet next. So let's see what bottleneck we run into on the way. I'm sure it's not as easy as it looks. Alright, so our first problem, the A system chokes on trying to craft Eternalist fuel, because the recipe, it reuses the philosopher stone each time, and I think the system, like in its calculating, for some reason, it has a very hard time understanding that. So like it'll sit on this screen for minutes, and I gave up after like 2 minutes. So instead of trying to craft these fuels in the AE system, why don't we, whoopsies, set up a crafter to do it? So a RFTools crafter, for certain dedicated crafts can be extremely fast. So let's see how it does. Important thing to keep in mind when setting up these crafters is that you want the output mode to be XC, which is exterior, but keep the bucket type things. The remaining items like buckets will stay in the input. That way we don't have to keep setting the philosopher's stone back and forth. So we put coal in here, it gets turned into alchemical coal, and then all we have to do is modify our recipes somewhat. Let's see, where are they? Take these, and then take out the, I guess we have to turn them into processing recipes and take out the philosopher's stone. Like so. We can put these recipes into here, and now we should, how do you spell it? A-E-T-E-R? We should be able to craft this much more easily. Yeah, so it's able to calculate the crafting tree basically immediately. Right, craft, and then it all gets dumped in here, and this crafter is pretty darn fast. So in just a matter of a couple, we could already see we already have a fair amount. It'll take it just a couple minutes to craft these 400. And that means we can now, if I am correct, we can now request purple matter. Might still take it a little long to calculate the craft though, shoot. I was hoping that calculating the crafting tree would be fast enough that I could do the higher tier stuff natively and apply to logistics, but that appears to not be the case. Darn. Well, in the meantime, I sped this up a significant amount by changing these recipes slightly. Instead of, 4 coal makes 1, it's now 4 stacks make 1 stack. And likewise here, instead of 4 make 1, it's 1 stack makes 16. And that should result in, instead of the ME interface being the bottleneck for how fast it can push items into the crafter, it's now how fast the crafter can actually craft items. Which, the crafter is fast. I guess now sometimes it's bottlenecked by how fast we can extract from the crafter. Either way, we've moved our bottleneck up to, a faster point. Having addressed that, now our auto crafting gets stuck in a different but similar point. It gets stuck looking for supremium coal. So what happens is if I put the recipe for supremium coal in, I have it right here. In fact, I had it in earlier, and that was why I was getting stuck. It will get stuck again. So let me show you why that is. So we just saw it was able to generate the crafting tree. But now if we have it do it again, it'll sit on this screen for minutes, maybe even hours, before succeeding. And it will eventually succeed. However, the problem with supremium coal, let's see if I can pull it up. And in fact, all the coals, all the types of coal, is that takes supremium coal, that takes these essences. And these supremium essences take the master infusion crystal, which is, again, it's like a bucket in a recipe, right? It causes a system to get stuck just like the philosopher's stone does. So either I can set up another crafter like this one to handle upcrafting of essences, which, I mean, I guess I don't see any better idea. Or, but I guess even if I do that, that brings me to the problem of, let's pull that supremium coal once again. And let's see, have my mind blank here. Purple matter. We need 4 of these to make the transmutation table and some of the even lower tier matters. But let's start with the 4 purple matter. 4 purple matter takes 1300 supremium coal. That's going to take more more, than I have of the various essences, right? If I try to make like superior essence, like I can't make 2000 of this. I mean, this will get stuck, but I don't have nearly enough of that landcraft ingot. We don't have nearly enough Friscon to make that. So we're going to need to come up with a way to make the thousands of supremium coal. And I have a thought. Remember when we first made the dimlet workbench? We saw that I thought this was block of supremium essence because it was cut off, but it turns out to be block of supremium coal. We can make a world out of supremium coal, and that kind of fixes our problem. The only small issue with this is that you see that like little brown boxy thing that's moving around in like this, like I can't point to it. It's like here in the tooltip. That's a material absorber that has to absorb 2 stacks of supremium coal blocks. Let's see, 2 stacks of blocks is 128 by 9. I mean, that's basically 1300. Shoot, that doesn't get us in. All right, well, let's see if I can find a plan C. All right, so I fixed the recipes. I set it up such that the essence crafting was also being done in a crafter as opposed to in a molecular assembler, and now it's able to generate. Remember how before this wasn't generating at all? It generates basically immediately. That's the difference between the applied energistics algorithms when it has an item cycling in and out versus not, when it has the master infusion crystal or the philosopher stone. So anyways, this is the scope of the challenge we're tackling. 800,000 bytes. Missing 200,000 Friscon. I mean, just 4,000 Garfax and just 2,000 Supremium. So let's take it one step at a time. The easy one to fix is Supremium. All we have to do is run Wither simulations. Not simulations, but the root farm on Wither for a little bit. I mean, it'll probably be a couple hours. But Wither root farm takes care of Supremium. Friscon, this is a more difficult one. We have to somehow come up with 200,000 Friscon. So I took a look at our good friend, the Dimlet Workbench, at what are our options. Our options are molten or ore. We can either, use the fluid absorber and make a molten Friscon world, so like an ocean of molten Friscon, and then pump it up, cast it into blocks or ingots, or I think the ore is it's just straight up easier, right? So let's see what it'll take to make a Friscon ore world. We need one of each of those things there. And most of those components come from these dimlet parcels that we have 29k of from our mob farm. So when you right click it, it spams your inventory with stuff. And I think if you right click it on an inventory, it's kind enough to put the stuff into that inventory. Shift right click maybe? Maybe it doesn't do that. Oh, okay. If your inventory is full, it's kind enough to throw it onto the ground. What is this crate? Is it okay for me to fill it? Yeah, it's fine. So what I'm thinking is, there's only so many of these, so why don't we... I have a plan. Alright, so my plan was just put an item collector on an enemy interface, and then start clicking. Apparently... Oh no, you don't get EXP, you just get the EXP sound. So anyways, once I get through a couple stack of these, I suspect we'll get all the parts we need. There are a few that are pretty rare, like... Here, let's... So, the higher the number, the rarer it is, and like we don't have a rarity 6 yet, but unless it's just hiding in my inventory. No, it looks like we don't have a rarity 6 yet. So yeah, I have to go through a couple stacks of these, I think, to get all the, pieces that we need. But hopefully, within, before my hand gets tired of clicking, we'll have all the components. I seem to recall there was a way to make a mechanical user or some other type, like, auto right-clicker type block to open these parcels for us, but I, for the life of me, can't figure out what settings do it. So instead of, I've already spent a couple minutes playing around with this, and in those couple minutes I could have just clicked enough on my own that I wouldn't need to do it. Oh well. Anyways, back to clicking. Anyways, here's what we've gotten so far. It's probably not quite everything. I already see that we don't have any rarity 6s, but I'm not going to worry about that until I happen to need one. Next thing we have to do is build the the matter absorber for, was it Friscon ore? So it takes that like brown absorber thing and each of those other components. So let's gather those up. To use the material absorber, first you want to do is set up just a small area of the material to be absorbed, and then you just place it on top of it, and it should slurp it right up. And then just keep placing the block to be absorbed until it's happy. You see it's 23%. I guess what I could have done is I could have placed it all with a builder's wand beforehand. That would have been the smart thing to do. But I didn't do that, and now I'm stuck right-clicking 128 times. And when it's done, it says 100%. So we can pick that up. Back to the Dimlet workbench. And let's see. So Friscon ore, it takes Dimlet part, rarity 4, triple lightning bolts, and triple red part. I think that's like the like single is basic, double is intermediate, and triple is advanced. One of these and this, and oh, I think they go down here. And we can make this. Cool. There's a couple others we need, I think. So since it's a solid ore, I think I want a terrain dimlet. I want terrain solid. Can I do that? Terrain flat, maybe? Hold on. All right, yeah, I want the terrain flat dimlet. Except I think it's easier. So a very small number of dimlets have normal crafting recipes, and it's easier to craft it than it is to, go through these steps. Because while it is possible, you need... I don't even know what those parts are. I don't know what that last part is. I think that's like a feature absorber? Terrain absorber. Whatever. Anyways, I'm just going to end up crafting it, in a crafting table. So once we have our dimlets, we can head back to our dimension inscriber with a new empty dimension tab. And I believe what you have to do is you have to put the material before the terrain. If you just put the material, it says it's dangling. So this says, for the next tile, let this modify. And I think if you put it the other way around, yeah, it doesn't like that. It doesn't like that. It likes this. Okay, cool. So we can name this Friscon ore. And now we'll see that the cost is actually quite high. Let's extract it again, and we can see the displayed cost is 2,000, 1,000 plus 101. But when we put it together, it goes up a lot, and that's because using material modifiers on terrain type dimlets as opposed to feature type dimlets. Let me demonstrate. So instead of using instead of modifying a terrain, we can modify a feature. So feature like orb, there'll be these balls of that material, but or like lakes, there'll be lakes of that fluid. Yeah, modifying features has a one-time cost on the cost, and modifying terrain seems to have a 5 times ish cost. But 11K is a price we can easily pay. So we put it in here. It says 1,100 ticks to create, and afterwards 5,000 RF a tick to run. So this will take it another minute. Let's just wait for it. While we wait for that dimension to create, one thing I want to mention is this phased field generator. So it's a pretty easy crafting recipe. Remember when I said if you go into an unpowered dimension, you will probably die? Now this dimension doesn't cost enough that I'm worried about the power running out. If there were like 4 more zeros at the end of that maintenance cost, I might be a little concerned. But what the phased field generator would allow you to do is that it'll allow you to survive in a dimension that is unpowered. You'll still get, I think, some debuffs, like, sickness or whatever, the really nasty one that makes your head spin, but it won't kill you. So anyways, I thought I named it. I thought if I name it, the name shows up. Whatever. Dimension... Oh, I see what I did. When I stored it again, I didn't name it. Let's name it this time. Right, because I extracted it and stored it again to show you. Anyways, because the charge or the teleporter has already been generated on the other side, I don't think the name will show up. But let's teleport there and see what our world looks like. More or less as I expected. It's a endless sea of Frisicon ore. Interestingly, we still get all the passive mobs generated. And I guess at night we probably get hostile mobs. So what we can do is we can set up a builder to mine all this. Let's rename this while we're at it. And one thing to keep in mind is that matter receiver, it spawns in with full energy, which is enough for 20 teleports. If you want to use it more than that, you will have to power it somehow. So I'm going to give it an energy cell. The power cell. I almost forgot about these little houses too that generate in RFTools dimensions. If you're particularly desperate for a, well, would you look at that, another draconium ore. If you're particularly desperate for a dimlet, what you can do is you can raid these houses. If you look, our spawn is, it's over there somewhere. And each one spawns with 3 fully complete random dimlets in it. I assume the higher rarity ones are, you know, rarer. But if you like absolutely, no matter what, do not want to, you know, like make supremium coal, you could just raid these houses until you happen to find a supremium coal dimlet. Let's see. So yeah, our spawn is over there. So I'm gonna raid a few just out of curiosity. You know, what if we get lucky, right? But I highly doubt it. Apparently, since I didn't specify that there should be no structures in the world, structures are allowed to generate like nether fortresses. Well, it's not what I was looking for, but that one might come in handy later. Who knows? Alright, we've had our fun. Let's get to work. So, I want, you know, basically all of the Frisicon in this world. I'd want, you know, 20,000, whatever of it, right? So, since I want a lot of blocks, it's much faster to use a builder than the digital miner. So let's go about setting that up. I'll power it later. Shape card. Let's see, 255 by 255 by what's our level? 63. And then I mean, I guess I don't care about voiding any of those things. Set that in there. I actually do want a filter this time, since all we want is this Friscon ore. So let's set our filter. Oh, that's all I had to do. I didn't have to mine it. You can go back then. Let me make sure it's set to whitelist. I want to whitelist Friscon ore. Sure, we'll do that. That goes in here, and all that's left is to power it. I expect it'll take more power than one side of a power cell can transmit. And I need to figure out my wiring situation still. I'm not sure if aluminum wire is as good as I think it is. Alright, whatever. Let's get a lever. And what we should see, so I'm using the normal triple white ender chest. Normally I reserve triple white for like generic input to ME system. I haven't set up the input side yet, but this should... why is it not getting anything? Oh, stop. I forgot to set what corner the builder is on. I don't want to quarry out my teleport spot on accident. So this is, let's see, if I want to do this corner, I'm looking southwest. So that puts the builder on the northeast corner. Is that how that works? We'll use preview mode. It's not the one I wanted, but that'll do. So now, if I restart it, what do I restart? Press to restart. There we go. It fills up very quickly with Frisicon ore. And this, over the course of a couple hours, should produce the 20,000-ish that we need. Awesome. Back on the overworld side, I just have the same linked ender chest, putting into an ME system, or putting the items into a ME interface that'll just eat up all of our Frisicon ore. And just like that, we have 10,000 and counting up very quickly. At this rate, we'll have the 20,000 we need in like 5 minutes. Awesome. So anyways, I think this episode has dragged on long enough, so why don't we wrap up here? We'll come back tomorrow and look to finish up our transmutation table. I hope you enjoyed the episode. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.